had to make a decision. I was either going to buy cookies and cream ice cream and take the day off, or do the wonderful diet thing and buy that chicken breast and broccoli meal. Hey, I'm Kevin Powell with Powell to the People Media, and we're perception people. No matter what you're purchasing, it could be a car, it could be a house, it could be clothing, it could be food. Everything you buy, you go through a buyer behavior process. So whenever you're trying to get a client to buy your product, they are going through the same buyer behavior process. Now, this is built off of anthropology and sociology and psychology and all this wonderful science built behind it. And there's several different models. But the wonderful thing is it provides you a guide to use. And we're going to go through a 5-step model today. And the idea is there that when you're creating your marketing, when you're taking a look at what you want to pull together for your product or your client, you have a strong idea of what you need to do to make sure it reaches them. So number 1, problem recognition. This is based off of need and want. You know, if you're going to go out and you're going to search for something, you're going to buy something, you have to first have a problem to solve. Otherwise, why spend the money and the time trying to buy something for it? Now, this is mostly based off of need, but a lot of times, especially in today's society, it's based off of want. Sometimes I like to call them neo-needs. Now, you have a need. You have to eat. You have to have clothes. So people will search for food. People will search for clothing. But there's a want on top of that, because you don't have to have the best food to survive, and you don't have to have the best clothes necessarily, but you want to have those things. A telephone in the past might have not as necessarily been a need, but now it definitely is. That's what falls under neo-need for me. You have to have a phone that is up to date with modern standards. So you have to have a problem to resolve. If you aren't answering the problem question, then you aren't giving people a reason to search for you. What is the problem? What am I solving for you? How am I fixing that issue? Now, pharmaceutical companies do an amazing job with this, sometimes creating problems where there aren't necessarily one. And that's what's wonderful that you need to recognize, is that sometimes you can create the problem to solve yourself. And that's what great marketing companies like ours sometimes have to do. That we have to show you there's a problem, because everybody doesn't always recognize it. But with that being the first phase, the first step that gets people to come to you, it is definitely something that you need to focus on. And so after that, you have information search. And this is a wonderful part that we all know about. We kind of forget about problem recognition, but we recognize information search, because first place we go, first thing we do, Google it. We step right there to do our research, our lovely descriptive research. And we find blogs, and we find websites, and we find newspapers and media outlets and other people that have used the product or used the service. And we get this nice, wonderful onslaught of information that'll tell us what we think we need to know. And so information search is very crucial when you're planning your marketing, because it is the area where people are digesting that commercial. They're digesting that marketing collateral. They're digesting what you have on your website. The words, the pictures, the colors, the brand, all of it comes into play, because people are taking it in as they take in your competitor, and they take in your competitor from over here. So if you haven't thought through that process or gotten someone to help you with that process, you're kind of missing the wonderful joy that information search is in buyer behavior. So after we leave that, we get to the place that we also are very familiar with, which is evaluation. That is our third step. And in evaluation, that's the wonderful place for the logically minded, where you have that checklist and you have those 3 charts and the pro cons and everything marked across. And evaluation is a wonderful area where you can get the leg up if you've done your marketing correctly. Because in evaluation, you will see and you will recognize that if you have a referral, people will connect you and give you extra points. If they know your brand, people will connect to you. They will give you extra points. But if they don't know who you are, and they don't know anybody who's used you, and they don't know anything about you, now when they compare you against your competitor, you are taking 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 steps back. Evaluation is very important and must be maintained in your mind when you're developing your marketing approach. And so we're stepping to number 4. 4 is where people often get confused, because they often think 4 is the last stop, which is the purchase itself. Now, there's a couple things in marketing and the purchase that I think are very crucial. I think it's very crucial that the purchasing process be as simplistic as possible. In a day where you have one-click purchases and where you have Apple Pay and all these other options that are supposed to simplify your purchase process, if paperwork is 5 steps deep to a purchase when it doesn't need to be, then that's going to move people backwards. Oftentimes, owners don't think about that purchase portion as a part of the marketing scheme, but it is. Because if your process and your product is supposed to make life easier, then purchasing can't be difficult. That becomes confusing, and that affects you in that evaluation phase with someone else down the line. And then is the final step, the one that we've gotten used to, but we might not always remember, and that is post-purchase behavior. Now, post-purchase behavior is a major component these days. And if you pull out your keychain and take a look, I'm sure you have something with a UPC code on it. If you check your email, I'm sure you have an email from somebody that says, hey, 15% off. Or it says, hey, please tell us about our survey. Or it says, hey, please refer us to a friend. Or sometimes it just says, hey, I'm still here. And the idea there is that post-purchase behavior wants to keep you around. It wants to keep you connected and make sure that you're still in connection with the brand, that you're still building a relationship with the brand, that you still have a reason to contact the brand even when you're not buying anything. So when you cycle back around to the top, problem recognition, you know the first place to stop. So hey, that was a quick rundown of buyer behavior. It's one of the things we focus on with Power to the People Media when we're trying to create our brands for our clients. We want to make sure that we think about those 5 phases in everything that we do. So when you're pulling together your plans, make sure you think of those 5 phases. If you need some help, feel free to give us a call. We'd love to help you out. Once again, Kevin Powell, Power to the People Media.